haven't done anything. You're a good dad, a great dad.
He hasn't been found guilty, he's been accused. What have you done?
That's the trailer for the hit Netflix miniseries Adolescence, which delves into the horrifying dangers of toxic masculinity, teen social media use, and violence against women and girls. The series' co-creator and star Stephen Grant tells CNN that he hopes the show encourages parents to talk with their children and ask questions. The show takes an unflinching look at the lives of a family and community after a young boy is accused of murdering a female classmate and the role that parents and the internet play in shaping young minds. And it has really struck a chord with audiences, racking up more than 24 million views in its first 4 days and sparking a cultural conversation. The show and its timely themes have even come up in British Parliament.
At home, we are watching Adolescence with our children. I've got a 16-year-old boy and a 14-year-old girl. This violence carried out by young men, influenced by what they see online, is a real problem. It's abhorrent, and we have to tackle it. We are putting in specialist rape and sexual offences teams in every police force doing work on the 999 calls, but this is also a matter of culture that I think it's important that across the whole House we tackle this emerging and growing problem.
All right, let's now bring in Dany Elachi, the co-founder and movement director of the Heads Up Alliance. That's an organization connecting parents who are delaying smartphone and social media use for their children. He joins me live this hour from Sydney, Australia, which, by the way, passed a groundbreaking law last year banning social media for children under the age of 16. Dany, so great to have you this morning. You have seen the show Adolescence. What were your thoughts?
I was very pleased to see that the national conversation, or the international conversation, in fact, surrounding smartphone use for adolescents is continuing. It was a conversation that was sparked last year by Jonathan Haidt in his book, The Anxious Generation. And I believe that the Great Parents Awakening is now continuing through this new Netflix program.
Yeah, I have to say I was riveted. Horrified is probably a good word to use too by the series. Talk to us about how you became vocal with this issue of limiting phone use with teens, because you have a teenage daughter, Alia, if I'm saying that correctly. How did you come to this decision to, one, take her phone, and how did she respond to that?
Well, look, the decision was born from difficult experience, because we gave my wife and I initially relented and gave our daughter a smartphone when she was 10 or 11 years of age, and we quickly saw that it was taking away her childhood, and so we had to reverse course. It was difficult initially, but a few tears over a few nights was small compensation for what could happen in the future. So we encourage parents all across Australia now, and indeed the world, to delay as much as possible.
Yeah, your collective, it's grown quite a bit. It now has 5,000 followers. It's been instrumental in getting some public schools in Australia to ban phones during class time. Dany, for parents who see this and say, my child would never agree to give up their phone, how do you respond, and what do you suggest they do?
Look, I do understand it is difficult once you've given your child a phone to then reverse course. We encourage families to make a pact with other families before they've given their children a phone. So when your children are still only 7, 8, or 9 years of age, make a pact that you all hold out together, and you'll have a much greater success doing it that way. If you've already given your child a phone, then admittedly it's a little bit more difficult, not impossible, but there are still some rules you can try to put in place to at least mitigate the effects of smartphone and social media.
Yeah, I was surprised. I listened to some more recent reporting and heard an interview with you and your daughter. I was surprised by how positive she seemed despite having the phone. You might not expect that from a teenage girl who no longer has a phone. But Dany's just sort of going back to the adolescence of it all. You know, the show sort of gets at it's not just the phones. It's not just the manosphere or the internet. The show sort of gets at it's this whole system. And I want you to take a listen to how the star of the show described it.
Well, what I thought we could look at, is maybe we're all slightly accountable in some way, shape or form, do you know what I mean? And we look at it and we analyse it from a different perspective. So maybe it's down to parenting, maybe it's down to, the school system, the government, the community, and the social structure which the child's raised. But on top of that, when me and you were kids, we didn't have the internet, but now the internet is a huge influence on our children. And in many cases, it's parenting our children just as much as we are, and it's educating our children just as much, if not more, than our schools are.
And to that end, on the government level, what more do you think should be done at that level? And are they moving quickly enough? Are they moving urgently enough?
Look, I don't think we could move quickly enough. The Australian government, as you've already mentioned, has moved to increase the minimum age of social media from 13 to 16. That is a very positive step. We hope that it will inspire other countries, including America, to do the same. I have to concur with what I just heard, that when you give your children smartphones and social media, you're effectively decoupling them from the family and from your family's values. And you're handing your children over to be raised by influencers who do not share your values. So it's no surprise that both our boys and girls are suffering, having lost those family connections and replacing them with other, perhaps less, more values that are more inclined to go against what the family may hope for their children.
Yeah, Dany, before I let you go, I want to read for you something that caught my eye. So this was a quote from one of the creators of the show. And he said that phones should be treated like cigarettes and banned until the age of 16. Too strong? Not strong enough? How do you respond?
Look, no, I personally don't think that's strong enough. I think we're quite entitled to liken smartphone use to cigarette use. In fact, there are arguments to be made that smartphone use is more ubiquitous, is more damaging to far more children than cigarette smoking ever was. So I don't think that's too strong. No.
Well, we'll leave it here. It's obviously quite a popular series, important issue. We appreciate you coming on to explain sort of the work you've been able to do. That's Dany Elachi in Sydney. Thank you, sir.